Am I the butthole for helping my brother run away from his wedding? I have 2 older brothers. This is about the middle one. Our parents divorced when I was very young due to our mother's insane jealousy. At first, my dad was able to handle it, but when she started making comments about me wanting to be like his wife, he had enough. She quickly rebounded with a guy with 2 kids and had shared custody for a while. But when my dad got remarried, she went crazy, calling his new wife every horrible name and claiming he was cheating on her while they were married. I was always closer to my brothers and dad than my mum because she was always very mean to me. Long story short, my stepmom died in a bad car accident and my dad called her in the middle of the night letting her know he'd pick us up earlier so we could attend the funeral, and she decided to take us on a fun trip to celebrate something. It was the happiest we've ever seen her, and when we realized what happened and started crying, she told us only worthless people cry for whores. Needless to say, things went nuclear, and my dad asked for full custody with visitation for her. He always left the line of communication open and paid for us to visit her when she moved away, but it was still very bad, and as soon as we turned 18, we started to lower contact with her. Last time we saw her was my high school graduation, where she made a point of letting everyone who would hear that we were ungrateful kids, and her boyfriend would call us bad names too. I've been non-contact since then. My brother Sam started dating his ex 3 years ago. She's heard all the stories and the reasons we are no contact, but she believes we're just dramatic. They had many issues due to her opinions, but she eventually seemed to drop the "you need to reconcile with your mother" crusade. During the wedding planning, there was no indication of things going wrong or fishy, but then we got to the church, and lo and behold, Mum, her boyfriend, and his 2 kids were sitting at the front. I immediately panicked and called my brothers. Sam thought maybe somehow she found out and wanted to crash, so he called his then fiancée to let her know of the potential drama, but she told him it was fine since she invited them. Sam hung up and asked me to go and get him while my oldest brother dealt with things at the church. We went home and barricaded ourselves there, even when his ex, her family, friends, etc. came to try and make sense with him. Mum's boyfriend even called and said he always knew we were worthless. Now that the dust has settled, most of Sam's friends are on his side, and so is most of our family, our dad's family. Sam's fiance's parents already threatened to sue for the money they paid if he didn't marry her, but Sam says he'd rather just pay them back for their contribution than marry someone that betrayed him. My nuclear family 100% supports Sam, but the backlash has been huge. Alright then, you might be thinking that's a very abrupt ending to that post, and I agree, it is. But what if I were to tell you that this entire episode that you're listening to and watching right now is all about this same story? What I've just showed you is the very beginning of this. There is so much more to come. There are edits, updates, the entire story is just absolutely bamboozling. It is mental. It involves fake pregnancies, fake abortions, crazy family meetings, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Strap in, this entire story is mental, and here's the first edit. So, first off, despite some people commenting about it, no, she has not apologized. She even went so far as to text my oldest brother, Joe, that she thought that inviting my mum would be a good wedding present from my brother to her since she values family. Now, my dad bought them a house as a wedding present, but only Sam is on the deed. She did have keys for when they moved there, but they just had the locks changed today, and Joe and some cousins are taking everything Sam owns from her flat during this week. We aren't worried about being sued, but we'll consult a lawyer just in case. We also heard that Mum and her family are still in town, but since we're all staying at our childhood home for a few days, we don't care. My dad is sad that Sam is heartbroken, but is trying to cheer him up along with my boyfriend and sister-in-law. I actually had to delete and deactivate my social media because I kept getting nasty comments and messages, but the more people learn the reason Sam ran away, the less it gets. I'm still sorry that she felt humiliated, but my brother comes first. I also asked Joe about the church aftermath after I went to get Sam, and it was just as I expected it. He says he stood up in front of everybody and told them Sam wasn't coming and to please go home, and all of their gifts delivered to our side of the family will be given back ASAP. Sam's fiancée was still outside the church when someone in her family informed her, and she started screaming and crying and calling Sam non-stop. Mum tried to talk to Joe, but he didn't even look at her. And when she couldn't get a reaction out of him, she started crying loudly and lamenting how horrible we are to her, and some people started consoling her. This is her MO, but Joe and his wife didn't care. When they went out of the church, Sam's fiancée was expecting them and demanding to see Sam, but Joe said no. Then she demanded to know what to do with the party, and he said if she didn't want the venue, he would arrange for the food to be donated to the staff so it wouldn't go to waste. Everybody was screaming except Joe, because he didn't want to give Mum the satisfaction. Joe and his wife came home after stopping at the supermarket and some fast food joints, and we've been inside like we're kids again, plus 2 more members. We asked Sam if he wanted them to go, but he said he wanted them there. We'd all taken time off to spend family time after the wedding anyway, so it's not a problem at the moment. When his fiancée, now ex, came to the gates, we knew she was not going to use the venue, so my sister-in-law called them with Sam's info, told them to take the food, and also sent them some tips for their trouble. It seems that we will get back all the alcohol that my dad paid for, so we'll have a very drunk end of the year. A couple of people commented asking why our dad ever married our mum. And the answer is he really loved her and believed that she was the nicest person ever. It turns out she wasn't, but she knew that nobody, except I guess her nasty new husband, would marry her unless she pretended to be nice. My dad considered staying with her until we were adults, but she kept getting worse. She used to get very nice and he thought she was changing, and then she'd go back. As per Sam's ex, we have no doubt that she believes Mum is a nice person that has ungrateful children, because she's extremely charming, and for some people it's funny to make fun of others as long as it's not directed at them, but it still doesn't excuse Sam's ex. The only person Sam gave an explanation to was his boss, who was at the church, but he's very understanding and was pretty shocked about what Mum had put us through, since we're a fairly adjusted, happy people. Our dad said that it was a shock for all of us, and we can stay home as long as we need. Sam is moving home for the time being. I showed my family my original post on Reddit, and they're moved by your niceness, but Sam wants you all to know that his ex wasn't showing any concerning behaviours, and he truly believed that she understood his upbringing. He's agreed to talk to her and her parents today, but only if it's at our home, and we are there to support him. So it's gonna be an interesting visit. Well then, that concludes the first post. Now that was posted last year, November the 1st, and I know what you're thinking. I want to know what happened in this meeting, and don't worry, just one day later on November the 2nd, OP posted the very first updates. I was wondering why Sam accepted the meeting after not even talking to her, but it turns out she sent videos and photos of all his things on the floor to his best friend Tom, and told him that Sam either talked to her or she would burn and destroy it all. Tom came to visit Sam, told him what happened, and they informed her they need access to the flat before anything happens. Tom, Joe, a couple of cousins, and my boyfriend went and took his clothes, electronics, and important paperwork. Sam said he didn't care about the rest, and even made a little joke about them being the fastest moving crew he knew. The meeting was, for lack of a better word, a ridiculous event. She came with her parents and sisters, tried to talk to Sam alone, but when he didn't allow it, she just started talking. Not once did she apologise. She said it's not her fault that we don't understand the value of a real family, and we were raised to hate mothers. That her only intention was for Sam to learn the value of a mother because she was scared he would take her children away from her, because that is what he was taught to do. Sam didn't say anything until she threw the "This family is like a cult, and you are a terrible father," looking at my dad. As you may imagine, this is a sore spot for all of us, and we don't allow insults towards our dad under any circumstance. Sam just unloaded about how she was a hateful liar, he was disgusted he ever touched even her hand, he was grateful to the universe that I'm chronically early to everything. He told her staying with a cheating husband, as her mum does, is nothing to be proud about. He said she pretended to be nice just so he would marry her, unloaded all the minor things that he was willing to overlook because he truly did love her, or at least who he thought she was. He said he'd never forgive her for the hurt she caused his siblings, but he doesn't hate her because that would require him to spend energy thinking about her, and she doesn't get that. At the end, he said she had enough time to clear things, and since she has acted like a victim, he'll be the one to let everybody know why he didn't show. It was brutal but cathartic and necessary for Sam. Her parents said nothing but were very red. She was crying. Her sisters attempted to defend her and their parents' relationship, and were kind of expecting my whole family to argue too, but we didn't. Then, Sam told his ex's dad that he could sue if he wanted to, but if he did, Sam would expose all of his family's dirty laundry to the world, and he doubts he wants that. Amazingly, the dad still argued that Sam could try and make amends and marry his ex because you're not getting any younger. And all families fights. I've never rolled my eyes harder. The rest of the meeting was about logistics for the return of the wedding gifts already received, stopping the harassment from their family, the cancellation and refund of the honeymoon, the changing of the locks. Sam's ex just kept crying and trying to talk to Sam, but he was in business mode and didn't want anything from her. He only replied to her directly when she said she was keeping her engagement ring with "nobody asked for it." They left without issues. Sorry, I've got to interrupt. Sam is handling this so well, what a G. When the booze was delivered, Mum and her husband sneaked through the gate when we opened it. She said she just wanted to talk to her babies, and my dad asked her to leave. She kept screaming that he raised us wrong and we just embarrassed her with our behaviour. She couldn't believe we were such bad people and we should start making amends with her because clearly we lack maternal love. She got that right, and this was the pathetic result. At that point, Joe went out and told her to leave since the police were on their way. She took that as an opportunity to cry since it's the first time in about a decade that he's talked to her, and she tried to sweet talk him into going to grab dinner with her and her husband. But of course, Joe just told her to leave, and the only news he ever wanted to hear related to her was the one about her funeral so he could go and celebrate. Cue hysterical crying and screaming from the husband, demanding an apology and threatening to hit Joe. Dad and Joe went back inside and left them there until we saw they left and closed the gates. It's hard for some people to understand why we react like we do, but the things I wrote about our mother are just like the tip of the iceberg. Dad wasn't exactly proud of what Joe said, but he understood he needed to let it out, and he was speaking for all of us. Yeah, maybe that makes us bad people, but we truly don't want to see this woman ever again. We're all going to have some family therapy besides our individual ones. Sam doesn't want the house anymore, but my dad says to take it slowly, and the first step is to mend his heart. We've had horror movie marathons and some Disney classics sprinkled here and there. We also had a drama bingo thing going on of all the things that could possibly happen, because I guess we are truly dramatic after all. We love each other and we're raised to treat people well, but we can be petty when pushed. I also feel better knowing she humiliated herself, and while I wouldn't wish to be left at the church to anybody, I would do it again because I love my brother more than I feel bad for her. We'll be going on a family trip eventually, but right now we will continue our staycation. Also, to the person that said Joe is a hero, his siblings couldn't ask for a better brother and friend. We've read everything so far. Thank you for letting me vent, the awards, the PMs. I'm sorry if my English has not been up to standard. This family is Spanish, by the way, guys. Joe and Sam's names are obviously fake too, but Daniela, go f*** yourself. Mental. We've just had an ex-fiance name reveal. I thought this post was going to be pretty anonymous the whole time. I'm pretty sure that OP has been using fake names the entire time, but no, as you'll see, as these updates continue, anonymity kind of goes out the window. Anyway, let's carry on. This is where the story really takes a turn for the, I don't even know, I was going to say worse, but maybe mental is a better word to use here. Alright then, now this update takes place just a few days later on November the 6th. Okay, this week has been really chaotic. Those who said to be prepared for the pregnancy tactic were incredibly accurate. She posted it online. People were freaking out again and calling Sam, asking him if it was true. Sam called her and asked that she deleted it, but she continued claiming that she was pregnant. He asked her to delete it and to come and talk about it. She did delete it, met up with Sam, and somehow this crazy woman thought he wanted her back. I went with Sam and she was very happy until she saw me enter the place. She started crying, holding her stomach, and when Sam asked if she was really pregnant, she said yes and told him she didn't want her child to be from a broken family. Sam told her they were going to the doctor immediately to know for sure, and she cried even more, screaming he didn't trust her. Long story short, she isn't pregnant. But she posted that Sam was forcing her to have an abortion and that she was devastated. As you may imagine, this was a horrible thing to say. People were calling Sam because they're so whiplash from the drama, they don't know what to believe anymore. When my sister-in-law, Anna, Joe's wife, found out about Daniela's posts and the meeting, she called Daniela. I'm unsure what was said in that conversation, but I've also never seen Anna this angry. The posts have been taken down, but Anna wrote an email with all relevant information, including that Daniela was never pregnant, and sent it to everybody in the wedding list. This morning we heard Daniela had a breakdown after leaving voicemails telling Sam if she couldn't be with him, she wanted to die. This is another tactic straight out of our mother's playbook, and Sam simply called the police and told them what happened. Her family forced her into therapy and she's in observation right now. It brings us no pleasure that it came to this, but we don't want to get involved anymore. We're also changing our numbers. Already requested it. Our mother emailed Anna threatening to sue her for defamation regarding the email blast. But we're not worried about that either. Anna's parents are amazing and they've made it perfectly clear they are on our side and 100% agree with the way she handled things. Joe was enraged, but Anna convinced him to let it go and simply move on. Mother's husband has been a peach as usual. Dad is considering a restraining order, but they're not great in our country. We did have a get-together at home yesterday, and it was a lot of fun. There was karaoke, dancing, nice food and drinks, games, and a bouncy house, because why not? We love them. Most people avoided the topic of the wedding and the social media posts, but those who brought them up did tactfully. Dad had already given away a lot of the alcohol to his employees. They got to choose what they wanted and got a bottle each. He's also adding bottles into his Christmas baskets this year. We're going to spend the holidays together and traveling. I suggested to Sam about maybe repainting the house, but he just doesn't want to live there. He'll rent it. I made a joke about me simply eloping or not having a proper wedding to avoid drama, and Joe told me in no uncertain terms I get the biggest party ever if I choose to. So yeah, he's still the best. So that is the end of update 2. Now after that point, we didn't hear anything from OP for about a month and a half. So update 3 is coming on the 22nd of December 2021. Sam is doing well. He's taking time off for work. His boss is very understanding about him needing time and told him he can always come back. He's still living with Dad and has his savings, so he's not worried about that aspect. He's running now and decided to run the marathon next year. He's more and more his goofy self and is doing renovations at home. Or in other words, Dad and Sam are trying to paint some rooms and do murals. It's hilarious and they have a lot of fun. Now, Daniela wrote him a letter, but he sent it back. The house was put on the market as a rental and he's okay with it. I am engaged. It turns out it's been months in the making, and when I made the joke about eloping, my future husband Matt panicked that I discovered the plan. He spoke with Sam, who already knew of the plans, because he didn't want to make him uncomfortable, but Sam said it would actually make him uncomfortable if he didn't. He also spoke with Joe and my dad made him sweat when he asked for my hand, saying it was not his to give, but they say it was all in good fun. It happened earlier this month. I'm very excited, but not as much as my dad. He says he wants to walk me down, even if it is a civil wedding. While my news is amazing, I believe the other big news is better. Joe and Anna have been on the adoption list for a while, and as of a couple of weeks ago, they have a baby. She is the most beautiful, sweet, best baby ever. The adoption is final, as it is usually in our country for newborn or almost newborn babies. We knew they wanted to adopt for a while, so when they told us about the baby being officially theirs, there was a lot of crying, but happy crying. Dad's in full grandpa mode, and even as bad as some things got this year, this is the best thing that happened to our family in years. Mum did learn about the baby and demanded an introduction. She's been served our version of an order of protection. She's never putting her eyes on her if we can help it. I guess that's the bad news. Due to the new COVID, we decided to stay home. Now with a new addition, we wouldn't travel, of course. We had a Christmas / welcome baby / baby shower / engagement small gathering last weekend, which Joe and my niece didn't attend since she's too young, but they were there via Zoom. We all agreed to give Sam some goof gifts such as t-shirts, mugs, sweatshirts, etc. of Julia Roberts, since you know he is the runaway bride of the family. The reason Joe and I are considering moving is that we live in flats at the moment, and we want to live in houses. We're still shaken up and we know we have work to do, but we know we have so much and we want to focus on that because the negative is in the minority. And no matter what happens, I'm always grateful for my family. I believe this will be the last update, folks. I know the last ones have been mainly drama-free and might not be as exciting, but we aim for that. Now, if you believe what OP is saying, then I'll be honest with you guys, you believe wrong, because just a few days ago, September the 5th, 2022, there was a final update. Okay, let's do the kind of bad news first. Daniela came back with a swing that we were not expecting. She is now pregnant and is claiming to whomever would listen that Sam is the dad. Sadly for her, it is literally impossible for him to be the father, since he wasn't even in the country when the baby would have been conceived, but she's got no way of knowing that. Sam has offered repeatedly to have a paternity test, but she refuses. Sam is safe legally, he just feels bad for her baby. Daniela's dad did sue Sam for emotional distress of 2 of his daughters, Daniela and the one the boyfriend left, but nothing happened since Joe dealt with it. Surprise, Joe is a lawyer. It's relevant info for this catch-up, I promise. Sam decided not to do anything against him since he has too much on his plate and feels pity for the family. Mum still insisted on meeting the baby, but that's never gonna happen. She undusted one of her favourite tactics. She has cancer. She contacted Joe and Anna through their work emails and begged them to help out with meeting the baby since she's so sick and would most likely need a transplant of something, etc. You see, this is like the 5th time that she's had cancer. But in reality, she's had cancer a total of 0 times. She loves the attention, the suffering, the drama, and all that good stuff that bad people like to bring out of others. We never believed her, of course, but what we didn't expect was that she would make a fool of herself when she contacted Anna's mum on Facebook. Anna's mum is a lovely, good Catholic lady, so my mum must have assumed that she'd be easy to manipulate. She told her about her cancer and how heartbroken she was not to meet Joe and Anna's baby. Anna's mum proceeded to ask a couple of questions about the diagnosis and treatment, which made no sense, as expected. Then she blocked her and posted the screenshots on her wall. It's like high school drama, only with older folks with hilarious comebacks. The baby is otherwise very happy and very healthy, and the only controversy regarding her was the question of what Rita would be called. Now Rita is OP's dad's girlfriend. This is not by Rita, but by our mother, who claimed Rita had no right to be called Grandma. Joe and Anna talked with Rita, and they all agreed for all intents and purposes that she is Grandma Rita, and Mum can do nothing about it. Sam's doing well. He quit his job and started something on his own. He's still living at the family home, renting the other house, and kinda seeing someone. She's nice, knows about all the stuff, makes amazing cakes, knows how to knit. We like her, so we're both positive and cautious. They are taking it slow, but it's nice to see him with someone like this. He also kept on painting rooms with Dad, and the results are, please remember I love these two, embarrassingly funny, ridiculous, and like something you do in kindergarten. Dad got COVID for the first time, and he got so scared that he decided to update his will. That's why Joe's profession is important. They wanted Sam and I to know about it when they finished it up. Everything he owns is divided in 4. His kids and the other quarter to any grandchildren. However, the family house is not to be divided and is going to be put on my name soonish. I was a bit confused, but Joe and Dad discussed it and wanted me to have it, if and only if Sam agreed. He did and is very happy about it. They didn't really offer many explanations other than it was the right thing to do. I sense a little because I'm the baby there, but it's okay. Joe bought a house in the same neighborhood as our family home. Thus, even if they are not in the same block or anything, they are close by. We, Matt and I, are not buying anything anymore, since I'll be getting the house and it would make no sense. We moved to the family home and it's been interesting but nice. Dad has started semi-retirement and spending more days at Rita's, so it works for everybody. Sam will of course get to stay there as long as he wants, but his murals will have to go. We're still engaged, still happy, still enjoying babysitting, and still not pregnant, but we've got a cat during the spring. We're planning a December wedding and couldn't ask for a better end of the year. So that's it. No drama, or at least not huge drama. We're moving forward and healing continuously, which is the way we like it. And there we go. As of the date of recording, the 7th of September, that is the last update we've had. Thoroughly enjoyed that story from start to finish. You're right, OP. The drama did kind of get less and less, but I guess that's what you wanted to see. And it turned into just a nice family story, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Let me know in the comments down below, guys. Do you like these sort of videos where it's more of a series or a chronology, a progression of events and stories rather than just bang, 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 am I the butthole, am I the butthole, am I the butthole, random things? I looked at this post and I thought, you know what? Yeah, there's some great drama at the start and it gets a little bit calmer as we go, but it's just a nice story. And sometimes I don't want to read stories that are just mental every second. It's nice to chill out, relax, and watch a family's cool progression over a year and a half. Do you agree? Let me know. Loved it. See you soon.